And we're back. And I'm about to go full Bill O'Reilly and just start yelling. This is my third take, and I'm just going to run with it. I'm honestly just annoyed. My cat was freaking out. Then my wife's texting me, and like my phone's dinging in the background. I'm like, all right, I'm just going to let it go. It's not going to be perfect. Whatever. I'm just going to have fun with it. Tonight, I'm just hanging out on Monday night. I've got Monday Night Football, Rams, Dolphins. It is November 11th. I've got it in the background. So if I start freaking out because Puka Nacua is scoring touchdowns or punching people in the face, that is why. I've got him on my fantasy team, so we'll see how that goes over the time of this recording. But the first thing that I wanted to talk about today was the New York Giants. And to me, very similar to what the Bears are in my, at least the fan base wise. So, I mean, all over my feed and all over just like news articles here, we've got, I mean, nobody loves the legacy media, but whatever. We'll go over some articles. So the New York Post, we're looking here. Giants seem to be mulling benching Daniel Jones as Brian Daboll offers telling answer. We also have Sports Illustrated. They are saying Brian Daboll refused to commit to keeping Daniel Jones as Giants starter. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's seemingly or allegedly the Mara family putting some money into the New York Times or Sports or New York Post, or Sports Illustrated, or if just y'all have been that brainwashed. But let me say this. I'm not saying Daniel Jones is a top 10 quarterback. I'm not saying he is going to be your quarterback of the future, or he should be. I'm not saying that I would want him as my quarterback necessarily. But what I do want to say is, of course, they go to Puka Nacua and they throw an interception. Okay, story of my fantasy season. Anyway, so the thing about the Giants is that they will continuously put the blame on one of their best players, if not their best player, and make up for their own inability to run a franchise or to make a successful team. Right? So if we look at Odell Beckham Jr., he's the most popular player on the planet in that 2016 range timeline. One of the best receivers in the league in the New York market, makes one of the greatest catches any of us have ever seen. And what happens? The minute the production drops, he is the scapegoat. And he's traded to Cleveland, and specifically traded to Cleveland, allegedly, and from his perspective, because the Giants want him to fail and for them to look like they came out on top. Similar with Saquon Barkley, right? You have a generational type talent in a running back, so much so that you take him in the top 5, or I think it was even the top 3. I think he was 3rd overall. No, he was 2nd. He was 2nd in that draft. You take him 2nd overall, and you say, okay, you know, the GM at the time, his name's escaping me, but he says, when you pick that high, you got to go with the guy who has the biggest opportunity to wear the gold jacket. Totally agree in some aspects. Maybe not the running back position that high, but just as a principle, I don't disagree with that. But then again, Saquon's out here doing backwards hurdles, spinning around people, enjoying his career. And the reason he says that is because of the security that he has. He's saying the financial security and the protection he feels as though he has in order to be able to do backwards hurdles over defenders. So then you have the Giants really being like, all right, we're not going to match his contract offer. We don't want to see him go to the Eagles. That'd be like worst case scenario. But, you know, we can't pay him this much money because he's not going to be the reason that we win. So we're going to pay Daniel Jones this money. We're going to pay him this money, and yes, there's a lot of responsibility that comes with this money, but also with that is the support system around him, right? So I can't fully disagree or hate on the Giants for the things that they've done for the offensive line. So I'm just pulling up the Giants roster here. If you take a look, I mean, they really have invested a lot of capital into the offensive line. They got Neal, they got Thomas, they got Michael Schmitz, they got Runyon. They have people that they've invested in high in the draft. But to me, I mean, when has it ever panned out for them in the offensive line? Like the coaching hasn't been great, obviously, because if it was, then they would be succeeding and they would be grading high. And even Andrew Thomas has probably been the biggest bright spot out of their whole offensive line. He's been shaky. He's had his moments where he's been down. He's had his moments where he's been up. So to me, what that says and what that has a lot to do with is coaching. Because if a guy is going from, mid-level kind of tackle to one of the best tackles back to mid-level tackle, I mean, you can make an argument that maybe it's just an anomaly in his career. But, I really liked Andrew Thomas coming out of the draft. And really, there's a reason they took him as high as they did. So obviously they believed in him as well. But I think what I'm sick of seeing is the Mara family seemingly making excuses and making fall guys for their own inadequacy, their own ineptitude, if that's a word. I don't know. I'm not very smart. So I don't know. Like, I just am sick of seeing this. I'm not saying Daniel Jones is the best quarterback in the league. I'm not even saying I'd want him as my quarterback, but to sit here and blame him and think that like benching Daniel Jones is going to make anything better. I mean, who's their backup quarterback even? That's what I want to know. It's like, who is this person that you're going to go to? Okay, Drew Lock. That's better. I don't mind Drew Lock, but you and I both know, we all know that that's not going to pan out very well. Yes, you have Malik Neighbors, who's like uber talented, but to me, coming out of the draft and even now, he still looks a little raw. I still think he needs to learn a few aspects of the receiver position to become the kind of player I think most people think he can be. But again, like, it's just like, you think really this is going to help? You think watching Daniel Jones struggle because of the lack of support around him is really going to make anything better? I mean, he was already taken as a guy who was like, you know, if you want to use the term, just system quarterback. Like, he's not going to be the reason you win the Super Bowl. But I'll say this as a Vikings fan, that year that we lost to Saquon and Daniel Jones, that was the reason we lost to the Giants, was Saquon and Daniel Jones. And everyone makes jokes like, oh, yeah, like, you know, the Vikings' old defensive coordinator, you know, he's the one who really got Daniel Jones his money and this and that. But it's like, also at the same time, it's like, you know, when's the last time the Giants won a playoff game? You know, I don't think you should have paid him $40 million, but I also don't think you can sit here and act like he's the problem. And this is the problem with New York fans, even Jets fans, which to me, even though they're different fan bases, they're like the same coin, right? But just on the other side, like, you expect Aaron Rodgers to come in and like be the savior of the franchise, but the reality is you're not a quarterback away. You may have had seasons where you are, and your talent may have shown that, but you have an incredibly talented roster, and you have a former MVP quarterback who, even though his physical skill set is not the same, you can't say that his intellect as a football player can't at least get you to the playoffs and you're sitting at 3-7 right now. You fire your head coach in the middle of the season that was supposed to be your contending season. So to me, it's like it's just silly. You know, how many times are you going to go through this? And like, you really can't rely on these New York teams to really make good decisions. Because to me, what I really think it's about just like selling tickets and making the money. Because I mean, being a New York Giant used to mean something. People were scared of the Giants in the 80s. Lawrence Taylor. You got Sims. I don't know a bunch of players, but I've seen NFL films plenty where I know the Giants were the team to beat. The Giants have beat the Vikings as well plenty of times. So I can't sit here and say that like they even embody that at all to this point. And I really don't know what's going to do it for them. I think the New York market really wants a tough, hard-nosed team. I don't think the Jets or the Giants really want a star quarterback as much as they say they do. I think they want a plumber to come off the street and win them a Super Bowl. Like, they root for that guy. They root for Mike White. They root for I forgot his name. Is it DeVito? I can't remember, but he's Italian and his agent looked like an old school like mafia boss, but actually definitely not a boss. It was more like he was like a henchman. But I think that's what the New York market wants. And it's unfortunate for people like Daniel Jones. I mean, where's Daniel Jones from? Where's he from? Because where did he go? Duke? Did he go to Duke? Yeah, he went to Duke. He's born in Charlotte, North Carolina. He's probably one of the most basic vanilla dudes I've seen in a while, which there's nothing wrong with that. But it's not what New York wants. And he's not even like the Eli Manning, oh shucks, I'm just a country boy, like I'm just going to fling it down the field. He's just not even that. He's just a regular dude who probably just loves football and just likes to compete. And he's a good athlete. Yes, he has fumbling problems at times, but it's like clearly, I don't know, even you can't say as the New York Giants like organization, what did he get taken? I think he got taken like 15th. Where did he get taken in the draft? Oh no, wow, he got taken 6th. Okay, either way, he got taken 6th. You obviously believe in him to some degree. So, but again, even then, you're not like taking him first overall. Because if you really thought he was like a franchise guy in other places, thought he was a franchise guy, like you would have had to trade 3 first-round picks to go up and get him. And I think I remember in that, I think there's a reason I thought he was 15th overall because back in that time, like I remember him getting projected to Washington a lot, and they were kind of in the middle of the pack. And I think he went to Haskins went there instead. R.I.P. Haskins. But yeah, I just think, and even then, that was a big reach. So I don't know. I guess the takeaway about the Giants is that I don't know what you expect, New York fans. Jets, I don't know what you expect. You guys are just probably like one of the worst fan bases. And you like love suffering, and then you want to blame, like you guys do. It just doesn't even seem like you guys understand football. Like if I ran an organization, I had you guys as a fan base, I probably, and like I felt the need to cater to what you guys wanted. No wonder I'd lose. You guys give up on people so fast. And the people you give up on are your best players. I'm pretty sure Eli Manning got trashed all the time. And he won 2 Super Bowls. And even then it becomes backwards. Okay, then he's loved. Then Geno Smith gets started over him because at the time, the coach said, I think it was McAdoo, he said, Geno's a better quarterback. And everyone was up in arms, and they're like, there's no way Geno Smith can be a better quarterback than Eli Manning. But now, obviously, that was proven wrong. I'm not saying Geno's like an MVP candidate, but we see what he's doing in Seattle, and it's like, well, maybe he was right. Maybe he was the better quarterback at that time. But no, the Mara family wanted to do right by Eli and have like a goodbye tour and this and that. And then Odell Beckham's like, what the heck? Why you got Eli Manning throwing him the ball when he's not even a good quarterback anymore? You know? Why do you got him like why I'm doing falling backwards 2-finger catches just to get touchdowns up in here. And then you send me to Cleveland, which is even worse. It's just really petty. Like imagine being a CEO or a boss and you purposely like somehow transfer your employee to another location that you know is worse just for the sake of them failing and making you look better. Think about how small of a person you have to be. And that's kind of where the Saquon thing comes into play. Like, that's kind of what you get. You get what you deserve a little bit. Like, I don't have HBO Max anymore, but I really want to see that Giants off-season thing because the clips from that, someone I know said it was like The Office. And just like watching really inept people like running an organization, and I could totally see that. And the owner is just being like, "Oh, well, I'd be really upset if Saquon went to the Eagles." Well, I guess he's upset, and he's making him look really, really bad, like really, really bad. And I mean, the truth comes out eventually. The light shines and exposes the darkness, and it's kind of where you're at. And the Giants, I don't see anything improving for a good amount of time. And to be honest, I don't like Brian Daboll. Oh wow, Rams got a pick. Okay, stop him. All right, we need a Puka Nacua touchdown. How come everyone on the Rams has like long hair? You ever notice that? I don't know. That's funny. But maybe it's because they're all in Los Angeles. I don't know. But I don't see it getting better for the Giants anytime soon. And Brian Daboll, I to be honest, from the jump, I haven't really liked him. I appreciate someone who's honest and like just tells the truth, but I mean, the way he goes about it, just like if he got up in my face and started screaming at me, I'd just be like I'm a grown man. Especially like if I'm like double your height, like, and you're talking to me like that, like get out of my face, bro. Like, I don't know. Like, I'm not a big fan of like coaches just getting up in people's faces and just screaming at them. I don't think it does anything. And like I'll see like highlights on X of like coaches getting up in like college players' faces and screaming and blah 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 blah, and then all the comments say like, "Oh, that's how it used to be. That's how it should be." And it's like, really? That's what it was? Like, no wonder Gen X is Gen X, and no wonder boomers are the way they are. Like, y'all are just ruthless in the worst possible way. Like, y'all aren't even tough. You're just emotional, overly emotional, just like babies. Oh, wow, they fumbled? Bro, the Rams got to get it together, bro. But I don't know. Like, I just think they're overly emotional. Like, if I saw Daboll, I'd be like, dude, you're just like an emotional wreck. You cannot, like, how can you be led by someone who can't manage their own emotions? That's what I don't understand. And the dude literally gets redder than a tomato anytime anyone does anything wrong. And I think The Giants really. Oh, I don't think he fumbled. Yeah, I don't think he fumbled. But I think the Giants fans liked it at first because they really wanted to see improvements in their team, and I think they just liked having a coach that wouldn't take excuses or no for an answer. But at this point, it's like, okay, I can see that more than likely the screaming in the face and the talking down and not knowing whether or not you're staying with the quarterback, like, I'm sure that's falling on deaf ears, and that's not going to last. Whether you have Daniel Jones or not, it's not going to last. It's just not. So there's my rant on that. There's my rant on the Giants. I don't think Dayball is gonna last very long, very much longer at least. But I mean, that's a good transition into the Cowboys. The other team that's just can't seem to get it right. And you got Jerry Jones like being on a radio show going full Democratic Party and being like, I'll stop giving you money if you tell the truth about me. Like, bro, like, nobody cares, bro. Nobody cares about your ego, Jerry Jones, except you. They just want to see the Cowboys win. I'm sick of watching the Cowboys. Honestly, I don't even like the Cowboys fan base. I wish they were good. Because every time at 3:30 or every time on Sunday Night Football, they're always on primetime games. And what happens? I have to watch a terrible football team get cooked by another football team. It's like, it's one thing if you're not a great football team and it's a good game. I don't mind low scoring games or like watching two bad teams have a good game. I don't mind that. But it's when I got to watch the Cowboys over and over again be talked about like there's some great team and then just watch them get cooked. And especially like, and you're talking again, I'm sure I'll say it a lot to the annoyance of people listening. Like, I am a Vikings fan. I watched Mike Zimmer for way too long. We had to watch Mike Zimmer just take that team to the grave and bring it down. And honestly, like, when I found out that he was going to be the Cowboys defensive coordinator, I'm like, yeah, this ain't going to go good. Like, he was a smart defensive mind. He really was. Like, he had a lot to offer. We had some great defenses. He was good as the Bengals defensive coordinator. But really, it's just, I hate to be like he's older or whatever. Wow, the Rams got the ball again. This game is crazy, dude. Neither team looks ready to play. But I hate to be like, oh, he's older, but I just think that, like, it's just over for him. I just think he's out of, the A-gap blitzes are done. You got all that talent on the defense and they're just nothing. They're just getting cooked. And then you got Jerry Jones being like, oh, I'm paying you this much money. You should, in Dak, I'm paying you this much money. You should be able to carry our team to a Super Bowl. I agree. But if I'm Dak Prescott, am I just not taking that money? If someone offered you $50 million a year to do what you love, would you do it? Would you expect anybody to blame you for doing it? No, not at all. So the problem becomes, there we go, Puka. Did he catch it? Did he catch it? Okay, I think he caught it. Good. Okay. But the problem becomes, oh my gosh, they call it not a catch. Dude, Puka Nacua, can you do anything right this year? Dude can't even catch a 10-yard out route. And I know I'm not a football player. I know I could never do what they do. I'm just frustrated because I took you first overall, bro. And this is what's going on. Whatever. Anyway, like, you can't even, where was I even going with that? I don't know. dude. I'm not like I'm just I'm just all over the place. But the I just think he expects Dak Prescott to bring them to a Super Bowl with the amount of money that he is paying them. That is not an unreasonable request. That makes sense. If someone is my highest paid player, I expect them to perform the best. However, I don't blame Dak for taking the money because who would? Who wouldn't take the money? But then it becomes, why would you ever pay Dak Prescott that much money? You know, as the person who is constructing that roster, you should know, based off the trends in the NFL and how salary caps work, that that is not how it should be done. Unless someone is a Mahomes, a Lamar Jackson, a Josh Allen, even a Joe Burrow, to a certain extent. You can maybe start thinking of CJ Stroud. You can maybe start thinking of Jaden Daniels soon. Might be a little too early for that, but you might start thinking about it. Unless someone is like that, you're not paying him that kind of money. Like, you can't sit here and tell me that, I don't know. Like, maybe it's biased, but like, if I put J.J. McCarthy in the Cowboys and use that money to get a few weapons and a little more help on the defense, you don't think you'd have a better result? At least a little better result. I'm not saying you're winning the Super Bowl. I'm not saying really like you can do that much damage, but at least the first year. But like, can you really say that you're going to be worse off? I don't think you can. Like, you got Ezekiel Elliott in your rotation for running backs, which isn't a bad thing, but it's like, I mean, he's supposed to be like your name, your guy, Dalvin Cook. You just got like a lot of old players in there. And like, I don't know where this thought process is coming from. Like, yes, you pay CD, you pay Dak, you pay your offensive linemen, you pay Micah eventually. And like, these are supposed to be the guys that lead you. But it's like, also there is like a line there of saying like, okay, well, we do need other good players. There isn't like, this is a team sport at the end of the day. And I'm saying that all to say, like, I actually really like the way the Cowboys draft. They're really involved in the trenches, and they really just focus on, the offensive line and the defensive line. And I like their draft this year specifically. They got, I think Guyton is his name, the tackle. They got Nealand. They got, I think it was Cooper Beebe, the guard or the center. I liked all three of them. I really did. And those are all trench plays or picks, and they're all plays for the future because, you're going to lose Zach Martin. You're going to lose Dexter Lawrence. You might want to move Tyron Smith to guard. So kind of that's just kind of the thought process behind it. Yeah. But the Cowboys are going to be really bad, and I wouldn't be surprised. No, I don't think Dak will get traded. Would I be incredibly surprised if he was? No. But also, I think Jerry thinks that he's going to win a Super Bowl. And I was really when I was starting to come around to Jerry Jones, and being like, I saw him on Hard Knocks, and he's like, I'm going to die soon, and this is all I think about. This is my main goal, blah, 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 blah. But at the end of the day, dude, like, you're just not getting it done. And clearly your sons know what they're doing. They know how to draft. It's an amazing brand, but I don't know. I think I'm just sick of watching them on primetime games or afternoon games every single time. I'm sure Tom Brady's sick of calling their games every week, seemingly every week. And yeah, the Cowboys thing just does not matter to me. My whole life, like I was born in 1999. My whole life, the Cowboys have not been so good that they would warrant the moniker or the name America's team in my head. Like the whole time I've been alive. So like, what are you living on? You know, what are you thriving on? Like, where's this America's team coming from? To me, the Patriots were America's team. They were good for like 90% of my life so far. And maybe that'll drop off. And maybe if you ask me again in like 25 years, I'd be like, yeah, the Patriots ain't in anymore. But that's kind of what it is. And you see, like, I know everyone likes to hate on Patrick Mahomes, but like, and just say like the Chiefs get everything and this and that. But the Chiefs were stuck in purgatory, like NFL purgatory, for a long time. They were middle of the pack for a really long time, even with Andy Reid. And don't forget that it's Kansas City, Missouri. Not Dallas, Texas. Not New York, New York. Not Los Angeles, California. It's Kansas City, Missouri. So you can't sit here and argue they're favoring the teams that with the most money or the biggest market. Like even look, Josh Allen, Buffalo, New York. Lamar Jackson, Baltimore. You know, like even CJ Stroud, Houston. Like yeah, that's a little bigger, I guess, but it's like the best quarterbacks are not playing for New York or LA or you know, even Miami or Dallas. Yeah. Like that's not the modern NFL today. Nobody cares. Obviously other than an insane amount of Cowboys fans. I'm not going to say and act like not a lot of people are Cowboys fans, but like the rest of us just do not care. We do not care that the Cowboys brand. We don't care about the fact that they're Dallas, Texas. We want to watch good football. And the Cowboys do not provide that. Have they at times over the past few years? Yes, they have. But right now it is bad. And I believe that the Cowboys should really just have to prove that they are contenders on a consistent basis in order to be on all of these primetime games. And I know that's not it's probably not going to happen. I know it's probably not going to happen. But I can only wish and pray. I can only hope. Heck, dude, even the Eagles are good. And Philadelphia is a big market, but I don't know. I don't know. Do I have much else to say about the NFC East? Even though the Cowboys aren't even on the east side of the country. Do I have much to say about the NFC East? I don't know. Not really. I guess we can talk about the Bills. I talked about them a little bit. So, again, like I said, this is November 11th, 2024. Bills are sitting at 8-2. They're about to play Kansas City. They just beat the Colts. Josh Allen's playing well. Relatively well. I'm excited that he doesn't have Stephon Diggs. I remember thinking when Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes were coming up, what are they going to do when they have to get paid and these stars have to go away? You know, because Mahomes had Tyreek Hill, Sammy Watkins, Travis Kelce, an elite offensive line. They had Kareem Hunt. And then Josh Allen at one point had Stephon Diggs, Emmanuel Sanders. What's his name? He used to play for the Cowboys, the slot. He's the white guy with the long hair. I can't think of his name, and he does rap, apparently. But, yeah, so they had them. They had Singletary, who is shown to be somewhat serviceable. They had, like, a decent offensive line. So I'm just excited to see Josh Allen with less stardom on the offensive side of the ball. And you can really see the Bills start to galvanize around him. Honestly, I think Josh Allen would do good with just a really great running game and offensive line and just like let him cook. He doesn't even need that great of wide receivers, in my opinion. I think Amari Cooper is the perfect kind of receiver. Like that's the best receiver he should need if he has a great running game and offensive line. which I don't know if they're like fully there yet, but I really like Terrence coming out of Florida, the guard. I know he hasn't played the best, but he's like a hard-nosed, down the hill kind of guard. He's going to push guys off the line. He's the kind of guard I'd want because I'd want to run the ball like hard-nosed. I don't love James Cook. He is good in specific areas, but the way I'd want to play football, I don't think I'd play him. At least as a starter or the main bell cow. But Khalil Shakir I really like. I have him on fantasy as well. Like, he's very solid. He's a good slot guy. Kincaid I really liked coming out of the draft as well. He's starting a little bit to come into his own. I don't think he's fully met expectations. And then you got Keon Coleman as well, who's more of a 50-50 guy. I think it'll take him a little bit to get into his own, but I don't know. I just like Josh Allen like this. It makes me want to root for him a little more. And I've always liked Josh Allen. Like, I think to see him win a Super Bowl would be really great. The only downside to him winning the Super Bowl is the fact that the Bills haven't won one, and then the Vikings continue to be on the short list, and therefore an even shorter list of teams that haven't won a Super Bowl. So I think that would be the main downside to it. Am I really just turning these into like Vikings podcasts? Sorry if I mentioned the Vikings so much, but I don't know. I'm kind of torn on, like, you know, can the Bills beat the Chiefs this week? I think that they can. I think we're starting to get into a time in both their careers where it's like they're the man in the sense of, like, it's not about their talent. Like, this is going to be it's not about their physical talent. Let me back up. It's going to be more of a chess match. Probably a little bit more of a chess match for Mahomes than it is Allen, but it's going to feel a little bit more like the Peyton Manning and Tom Brady games used to feel like. Or we didn't get them very much, but the Aaron Rodgers and the Tom Brady games used to feel like. Like, those were like, oh my gosh, these are the most amazing games. Excuse me. They're playing chess the whole time. This is just fun to watch. Both offenses are hard to stop. You know, and when the defense does get a stop, they're super hyped because they're playing some of the best quarterbacks in the league. Those are just fun games to watch. And, yeah, I'm just really rooting for the Bills this year. I really am. I guess, yeah, I don't know what else is going on. Just kind of looking. Oh, the Chiefs won in a crazy way, and the Broncos lost. Yeah, Sean Payton, I don't care. I'm glad he lost like that. Bo Nix, I'm not a big believer in. I do root for the guy. He seems like a good guy, but, I mean, you're a 24-year-old rookie. You've played like a million games in college, and you're still having inaccuracy problems. Yeah, I don't know. And then he's like talking about how he baited the Vikings into trading up for JJ McCarthy. It's like, really, bro? All right. We'll see how that goes. We will see how that goes. And I am pro Sean Payton failing as the Broncos head coach. I don't have any animosity against the Broncos, but I definitely have plenty against the Saints and Sean Payton. Speaking of the Saints, yeah, Michael Thomas is out here just like talking bad about Derek Carr like he's the I don't know. I know Derek Carr isn't like the most amazing quarterback, but again, kind of like the Daniel Jones thing, like, really? Like, Derek Carr's character was very, like, he thrived in Oakland or Las Vegas with ineptitude, with dysfunction. And even with the Saints, I'm looking at his PFF grade. He's the 6th ranked quarterback on a bad team. He always finds a way to perform. I'd want him as my quarterback. I think Derek Carr could win a Super Bowl. I think he'd have to have a lot of talent around him. I'm not saying he'd be the main reason you win a Super Bowl, but he has the kind of character and grit where you just like you'd root for him, man. Like, let me think of a team. Let's see here. Let's go over teams that Derek Carr would win a Super Bowl with if he was the quarterback, or could have a high possibility to win a Super Bowl with. I think the Eagles. I know that's not a hot take because the Eagles are really talented, but the Eagles, I could see he could win a Super Bowl with them. As roster is constructed now, I think he could do it with the Ravens. I think he could probably even do it with the Steelers. He could definitely do it with the Vikings. I'd take Derek Carr over Sam Darnold. The Lions, I think he could too. I don't know if I'd take him over Jared Goff. It's kind of like pick your favorite flavor. I don't think one is necessarily better than the other, but they provide different things, and it's like, is that specific thing better for you or not? The Chiefs, probably not the Chiefs. The 49ers, he could definitely do it. Yeah, I think that's it. I mean, that's not a super long list. But yeah, so I got the Eagles, the Ravens, the Vikings, the Lions, and the 49ers. Yeah, what is that? So, was that like 5 teams? Yeah. And maybe I'm just a homer with the Vikings opinion, but like, I mean, they got a good roster. So, I mean, you could even argue the Dolphins. I don't know. I really liked Tua's fit in Miami. It's probably the best team for him, but I didn't really like Tua coming out. I kind of had him as a mid first round grade. So last episode we talked a little bit about like how I grade quarterbacks, how I would look at quarterbacks within the first round, and Tua kind of fell in that Bryce Young mold of like mid first round. Like, he has physical limitations, but he has good things about him. He knows how to play the quarterback position. You'd have to have a lot of talent around him to win, which I think the Dolphins fit him in a way. I think they're really good for him, but I mean, if Derek Carr was healthy and with that kind of offense, I could see him. I mean, if the defense improved more and I think stayed healthier, I think, yeah, that's another team where you could make an argument. I think the whole Jay Gruden thing, is it Jay or John? I always get the two mixed up. Don't name your kids with the same letter and then they look alike and do the same profession. That's just not it. I think it's John Gruden. I think him getting kicked off the Raiders for some wild reasons. I feel like we don't talk about that enough. Maybe I'll deep dive into that next episode of the podcast, because it's like, kind of seems like he was set up, doesn't it? Like, I know I'm not like a big fan of what the stuff he said. It's kind of funny. It's also kind of mean, but I feel like if anyone knows John Gruden, like, that's just kind of how he is. Like, to sit here and say it was specifically racial, like, yes, on the surface, is it kind of a racist comment? Yes, but its context matters. If you're a jerk to everybody, you can't sit there and call someone a racist. I don't know. I think he was kind of framed, and I think the Redskins have a lot to do with that. And the whole stuff going on with his brother and the cheerleader. Yeah, dude, I feel like they don't talk about that enough, man. I wonder if that's why they got changed to the Commanders. Because they were already in hot water or deep water, whatever you want to call it. They were already in deep water because of all these allegations. Their owner obviously wasn't a great owner. And I think the whole like DEI, like woke company thing just like swooped in at the worst possible time for Redskins fans. And they're like, hey, if you don't change your name to this, like, we're going to pull all of our funding and all our sponsorships for you, kick you while you're down. And this and that. And it just, yeah. I think I might try to do a deep dive into that soon. That'll be an interesting topic. And I see he's like on TikTok now. And he's like making TikTok stuff. And then he's like starting like a club of like fired coaches, which is like kind of cool, kind of lame. I don't know. I just think of Mike McCarthy like like making that like film room in his house and like acting like he's studying, and it looked really impressive. I'm like, wow. Especially like as a Vikings fan, you just get cooked by him as like when he was the Packers coach the whole time. So you're like, all right, well, I somewhat believe in this guy. Like I watched my team get whooped by him for a decade, and he won a Super Bowl. So it's like he can't be that bad. Then you see like he's like, oh, this is self-reflection. I'm gonna change. Blah 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 blah. And then he's with the Cowboys. I'm not saying he's like a terrible coach, but he just doesn't seem like the kind of guy I'd want to play for. And from what it sounds like, his offenses are really just basic. And in the era of Sean McVay, Kyle Shanahan, Zach Taylor, Kevin O'Connell, like I can't. Did I say Mike or Kyle? I don't know. The Shanahan. It's just like to have a basic offense is just like you're just automatically at a disadvantage. And this is the era we're in. We're in the Shanahan, Gruden, lineage era. And we have to realize that. And if you're gonna have a basic offense, I mean, yikes, yeah, you ain't gonna win very often. And now that Dan Quinn's gone, yeah, the Cowboys, yeah, it ain't looking good. But I like Dan Quinn. I really liked him in Atlanta. I kind of wish he just would have told. I don't know. I'm a big fan of like empowering your coordinators, right? And like having them make decisions as well. Obviously, Kyle Shanahan was the best offensive coordinator in the league at the time. And like you want to empower him to make decisions, but like, man, they should have just ran the ball in that Super Bowl, man. Like it would be really hard for me to recover when I lost a Super Bowl when I was up 28-3. Like I probably wouldn't even be able to talk about it. Oh, it was funny when the election was recently and Trump was up on Kamala 28-3, and everyone was making memes about like how she's gonna win. I'm like, oh my gosh, what if this happens? She comes back from 28-3 and wins. It's like, oh my gosh. And she went to Howard. Is that in Atlanta? Am I about to say the most ignorant thing? Oh my gosh, it's in DC. I'm stupid. But also, of course, it's in DC. Yikes. I've been to DC before. Yeah. It ain't it. I spent my whole life. I love history. I waited my whole life. It was before I got married. It was a couple years ago. My wife and I, she was my girlfriend at the time. It was like our first big trip together. We drove down to DC or to Virginia Beach and back, and we actually made a few stops. And like a big reason I knew that she was going to be my wife is that she was willing to go to the Pro Football Hall of Fame with me, which was really cool, and she was really into it. And if you haven't been, it's really cool. Even if you are married to someone or go with someone who's not super into football, there's plenty of stuff to do that gets you interested in it, even if you aren't a football fan. Like I remember they had like an interactive theater where it would like flip you around to another screen and like turn you 180, or like they had like molds of NFL players, former NFL players, like thighs or biceps or just stomachs or heads or what hands, and it's just like you compare yourself. Like my whole body fit in, I think it was Jonathan Ogden's, the mold of his thigh. My whole body. And I'm like, dude, yeah, no. No wonder he was like the man back in the day. Anyway, I went to DC. Everywhere you go, there's a pride flag or a woke or LGBTQ plus flag. Everywhere you go, like I was surprised. I'm sitting here, I'm like, here's history, here's all these things, and all I do is I remember we rode scooters in this neighborhood, and it was just these magnificent houses but all of them had pride flags. And it's not even a matter of like the fact that you have a pride flag necessarily, even if I disagree with the thoughts behind it, it's the fact that every single one on a whole like 2 block radius had one. And I understood where all these thoughts were coming from. And I go, oh, that's why the media talks this way. That's why Howard University talks this way. That's why, they're not the Redskins anymore. And you just see like, oh, okay. DC is pretty bad. It is pretty ugly. I ain't gonna lie. And it kind of makes me not want to go back. I ain't gonna lie. I don't think I'll go back. Maybe when I'm older. And then I don't know. I saw the White House and it was like smaller than I expected. I don't know what I was expecting, but it definitely wasn't that. I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you think the Commanders are gonna go back? I don't know. You guys should leave a comment or like share, like hit me up on X or something. Like, do you think the Commanders are gonna go back to the Redskins? I do. Especially with Magic Johnson there. He does not care about that woke stuff. Bro had AIDS back in the day with a big smile on his face. Like, I'm getting through this. I'm just looking at pictures of Magic Johnson with a big smile on his face. He's like, I don't care. I just want to make money. And like that's really what it's about. He is a businessman at the end of the day. He don't care about the woke stuff. Like it's really about like if you go woke, you go broke for sure, bro. Like look at Disney. I'm kind of waiting for Disney to make good movies again. I saw the Lilo and Stitch like screen cap of Stitch and I was actually pretty excited. I'm like, I wonder what this is going to be like. It'll be interesting. Stitch looked pretty cool. So I don't know. I don't know what this podcast is becoming. I'm talking about Lilo and Stitch, but I don't know. I think like let me see here. I thought I saw this article about how like a Native American, I don't even know what you would call it. Let's see. Yeah, and then I saw this article about like how NFL fans want Trump to like change the Commanders back to the Redskins. I'm like, do you guys know how that works? Do you know how the government works? Like, I think sometimes y'all like want the president to be like a dictator. And I'm not saying that because of like all the rhetoric behind Trump being a dictator. I don't believe that. I think that's stupid. But like sometimes I think people just think that the president can just like do whatever he wants. This is just not true. It's just not true at all. And you have to like think about that when you're voting for somebody and like the promises they make. And you're just like, dude, you can't do that. There's no way you can do that. But I thought I saw this Native American like group or organization. Okay. Here it is. Okay. It's from News Nation, so it's like relatively middle ground here. I don't know. I'd like to watch them a little more because they have a lot of old school people, which I don't know if that necessarily means a good thing because like they really got us through the Iraq War in the worst possible way. But I don't know. Maybe they're just telling the truth for relevancy again, I guess. I don't know. But the article says, so it's on newsnationnow.com. Says family of Blackfeet chief who inspired Redskins logo want it back. And if you look here, Thomas Whitecalf, a great nephew of the late Blackfeet Nation chief, told Fox News the fans want him back and we want him back. Our ancestor was the most famous and most photographed native in history. Two Guns was also the face of on the Indian head nickel. I'm proud of him. The Blackfeet are proud of him. Yeah, and this is kind of how I view it too. Because you want to say that it's racist for them to have it. Yeah, I get the whole red skin thing. Like, I get that. But I can get how that can be interpreted that way. But that's kind of like on you. Because I grew up with the Redskins. I never thought of it like, oh yeah, like Literally red skin. They're a bunch of red skin native. Like, no. Like, nobody thinks like that. And if you want people to change the name because you think like that, that kind of says something about what you think about Native Americans. Doesn't it? Because my grandma is from the reservation in the Dakotas. I won't say exactly where, but like the Dakotas, and who's her favorite team? The Washington Redskins. Why? Because her dad was native. They loved the Redskins. And that's why I never understood the changing of the name, like, or even the Cleveland Indians. It's like, yeah, maybe the logo's not great. Like, okay, yeah, because at least the Redskins, it's like a real guy where it's like you're trying to honor somebody. And that's kind of what we've forgotten about. It's like it's for the sake of honoring somebody. The Cleveland Indians guy, like Chief Wahoo. I did not know that was his name. Chief Wahoo? Oh my god. Okay. Um Okay, let me just say this. The Guardians is a stupid name. And if you look at their logo, it looks like Tom Cruise drew it. It's like what Tom Cruise would want as like it looks like a Top Gun baseball. That looks stupid. Okay, the logo does not look great. I'm not going to lie. Bro's face is the same color as his feather. I ain't going to lie. However, I still think Cleveland Indians is not a bad thing. Because, like with a lot of these words, and like, people want to get word, like, people are using the R word again. And sometimes I say it because I used to say it as like a teenager a lot, and it's just funny. Or they just say, there's so many words that people used to say that they don't say anymore. And I think what these people who hate these words, it's like they want to avoid being called what they are. And I don't mean that in a negative sense. I mean that in the sense of like they're almost evading their identity. Like, okay, you change it to this more like kind, understanding word, but then that word becomes a negative word. And then you go back to the old word or you change words again. And it's like it just seems like I'm not saying like, oh, there's this negative connotation to this word, so but you are that. I'm saying that like you get called something because you are something, and then you don't like the fact that people are identifying you as that, and then you take it negative and then you change it. And then you do the same thing over and over again. And it's like with the whole Indians thing, it's like who cares? Who cares? Native Americans. Then it was Native Americans. Then it's indigenous. It's just so illogical. It doesn't make any sense. And I don't know. I'm not going to do the whole speech. I don't know what it's like to be in their shoe and blah, 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 blah. These people don't care about these people. They don't care about Native Americans. They don't care about... Have you ever been on a reservation? Have you ever been on a reservation? It literally... There's boarded up shacks. No resources. No, like... These people have been treated so terribly by our government and by the people. And it's like you seem to care so much when it's convenient. But it's like that's what you care about when you don't have actual real life goals or aspirations. You talk about wanting to change sports teams' names because you think it's a little offensive. Okay, yes, Chief Wahoo. Wahoo. I can't even get over this. It's literally Chief Wahoo. Oh my gosh. There's an older logo that's even worse. But I don't know. One of my favorite baseball movies is Major League. And it's like, come on, you're gonna ruin Major League? Come on, bro. Chief Wahoo, you're gonna ruin Chief Wahoo? You're gonna ruin him? It's like, come on, bro. I don't know. I don't mean to get like too political, but I'm somewhat a political person. It is what it is. This whole thing isn't. This whole podcast isn't going to be about politics, but it's mainly going to be about football. But it's going to be like, I mean, at the end of the day, it's my opinion. Whatever, I don't care. But and also like I'm not smart, so don't listen to me. Don't. I'm not your your savior. I'm not the guy you should listen to when it comes to like really anything. But okay, the Guardians logo is dumb. Did they win the title this year? Oh no, they lost to the Yankees. Oh yeah, cuz the Dodgers won. Duh. Yeah, there's nothing worse than like a World Series where it's like LA versus New York. It's like that ain't America. That's just not America. I mean, the Yankees lost. Baseball, this is why I don't like baseball. I don't like baseball because of the lack of salary cap. I think every team should have a salary cap for the sake of like an even playing field. And I get like you can spend more and pay luxury tax in basketball and you can do signing bonuses in the NFL. But at the end of the day, it's a decent amount of a level playing field where other teams can compete. That's why you can have a Kansas City Chiefs. You can have a Buffalo Bills. You got to have that. Like, I don't care what other people say. I don't want to see New York Yankees versus the LA Dodgers. Like, I want to see the Cleveland Indians versus, I don't know, the Houston Astros. I know that might not be the best pick, but just like a team that's, or even just like I don't know, who are MLB teams? I guess, I guess I just think of like Midwest teams. Maybe it's because I'm from the Midwest, but I really believe like a lot of America is, to me, is the Midwest. Not in terms of like space or just like culturally. When I think of America, I think of the Midwest or I think of like the South. I don't think of the coast. Even if it was like, okay, you know, the Cleveland Guardians versus, or sorry, I ain't even going to say the Cleveland Indians versus definitely not the Toronto Blue Jays. Canadian teams, that's lame. Versus even the Atlanta Braves, right? Even Boston. You can make an argument about Boston. But yeah, I just like I don't want to watch LA versus New York. That's lame. It's like, what is this, 90s rap? No, that's lame. Nobody cares anymore. Everyone's either from like Atlanta or Atlanta. Everyone's from Atlanta. Every rapper is from Atlanta. Every single one. I don't know. I'm like getting too far off topic. Jesus loves you. He died for your sins. Don't forget that. The Giants are lame. At least Giants fans. I'm sick of watching the Cowboys. Yeah. See you later.